What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of QuestScape. Today, we are doing One Piercing Note. This quest ended up being fucking awesome. This is easily my favorite quest in Runescape yet. I had a really fun time with this murder mystery kind of deal. So this will be a fun review. The quest starts east of Al-Kharid, and I'd never even been anywhere out this direction before. I kind of forgot that it existed. And you start it by going into this kind of monastery religious place. And it struck me very quickly how just different this quest feels from a lot of the older ones that I've played. They have custom-made music for it that actually has vocal singing, which is something I've never seen in RuneScape before. And I'm kind of curious to see if they continue to do that later on. But it was a nice touch. It made the quest kind of feel modern. After listening to music for a bit, I went to talk to Sister Katharina, who officially starts the quest for you. Her boss just told her to stand outside of the monastery until an adventure showed up, so this quest came out in 2012, so she's been sitting out there for fucking 8 years waiting for me. That's some damn dedication. So I'm proud of her for that. She's kind of like my new waifu. I do really like her a lot. Probably a bit too religious for me, but I can look past it. She tells you to go talk to her boss, though, her name's Benita, and she tells you that there's been a murder in the monastery, so we have to figure out who did that. The person who was murdered, her name was Sister Anna, and we have to go investigate her quarters. We have to talk to all the different sisters around the cathedral to figure out if any of them seem suspicious or not, and of course we have to examine the body of Anna herself. I went to investigate the body first, and boy, let me tell you, it was mutilated. Her face was ripped off, her toes were cut off. This girl was seriously messed with. Whoever we're dealing with here is a psychopath. I then went to investigate her quarters, and there was some mysterious rags underneath her bed, and the window was broken from the inside, so these are some spooky, mysterious clues. I then started to investigate the other sisters around the cathedral, and they are very suspicious. I really wasn't sure who to suspect at this point, other than all of them. Everyone, of course, other than Waifu, so I went to talk to her first. And, of course, in her sweet, sweet words, she described Anna as being a very pious person, and I discovered that there was another new applicant recently who disappeared. They apparently did not end up wanting to join with the cathedral. Katharina got very curious as to why I was asking her all these questions, but I did not have the heart to tell her about the murder. I did not want to worry her sweet, pretty head. I then went to talk to Sister Cecilia, who was conducting the choir in the main room of the cathedral. I really like this room, by the way. The song that they're singing there is damn catchy, and again, unique because it's actually using real vocals. One of my new favorite songs in RuneScape, to be honest. They're singing about Saradomin, and it really just makes the religion feel like an actual religion instead of just something that you occasionally hear about. It fleshes it out a lot. Being the curious adventurer that I am, I of course ask her what the song that they're singing is. Turns out it's a hymn to Saint Elspeth of the Saradomin religion. This was a legendary warrior, priestess person back during the God Wars who helped defeat the evil demon Ripper, who was a Zeramak spawn of evil. She did this by singing at it in such a tone that it dropped dead right away. Unfortunately, in doing so, though, she was stabbed through the heart and killed. So thank you, Sister Cecilia, for that nice lore tidbit. The last person I have to talk to is the musician that's playing outside, Valereo. Before doing so, though, I decided to dance with one of the members of his entourage, and holy fuck, my RuneScape character is just cringy when they dance. I thought I danced poorly in real life, but I dance better than my character does, at least. It's really impressive that he continues to sing while also talking with me. He's a man of many skills, it seems. He's basically there just to mourn over Anna, as he knew her a long time ago, and he's just trying to sing his worries away. The actual last person that I have to talk to is Sister Elena, the chef of the monastery. She's cooking a mean cabbage soup when you come up to her, so she doesn't have much time for your games. She's kind of an asshole and doesn't really seem that concerned that Anna's dead. So, fuck her. She did let me know something important about Anna. We learned that Anna was very, very pious, even more so than Benita herself. Anna would have been much more strict on the rules if she was the leader instead of Benita. The actual last person I have to talk to was called Feed at first. I was a little bit confused. Before really being able to talk to her, you have to help her out with fixing the clock. It's just a simple little mini game of rotating the clock hands the correct direction. After you do that, though, she comes out and reveals that her name is actually Deborah, Sister Deborah. She really doesn't have anything interesting to say, though, so she's kind of pointless. That's the last of the people that I needed to talk to. I did go into one different cell room and found another piece of cloth fragment. I really don't know what the point of these fragments ended up being. The two that I got, I don't think ended up playing any kind of role in the actual quest, but maybe they were just needed to trigger the next section. After finding that, you go back and talk to Benita again, and you kind of conclude the beginning of your investigation, but as you're talking to her about that, a scream pierces the night. An already pretty dark quest takes an even darker turn now as you have to follow the sounds of the screaming to pinpoint its location. And it is pretty damn disturbing. The screaming ends up being from the basement and is coming from Sister Cecilia as she is screaming over the chef's dead body. The chef was just brutally murdered in much the same fashion as the first murder was. Benita asks you to restart the investigation now around the chef's body. So you investigate a few of the little things down in the basement, and then you have to go talk to all of the sisters again. Sister Cecilia is flipping out and is on the verge of complete collapse. I managed to calm her down, though, and she starts instructing her choir again. Now it's time to investigate the room that the chef was living in, so we have to go back to Benita real quick to grab the key. Don't know why she couldn't just fucking give me the key when she saw me earlier, but whatever. Inside her room, there's some letters stashed underneath her bed that describe a very naughty meetup. Turns out that she has been sneaking the musician that's playing outside into the monastery, which is against the rules. If you go into the kitchen, you're able to find the little hole that the chef was using to sneak him in. But before I go snitch on them, I gotta go talk to a few of the other sisters first. Deborah, yet again, has absolutely fucking nothing important to say. I'm really starting to not like her. Valerio initially tries to deny his correspondence with the now dead chef, but he can't hide it for too long. Once we tell him that she's dead, he starts to crack. I figured now was a good time to go tattle on them to Benita. She ain't too pleased. They had a history, apparently, of meeting up in the past. Sister Anna was the one who wanted to kick him out of the monastery completely, but Benita stopped her from doing that. That marks the end to another stage of the investigation. Sister Benita is worried about the safety of the other sisters now, so she wants to make sure that they're all inside the monastery. Our waifu is currently dancing with the musician outside, so our task is to make sure that she's safe and to bring her back inside. But of course, first I gotta dance with her. Wish I could have learned a couple new moves since last time I danced, because her moves are pretty sick. As it turns out, waifu is thinking about leaving the order. I think this whole recent event thing has kind of turned her off from the whole monastery thing. Just as we convince her to go back inside the monastery, though, she gets brutally murdered by the Ripper right in front of our very eyes. And what a stab that was. It's kind of like Tyrant from Resident Evil 1, if any of you have ever played that. Like, holy shit, that is a horrifying way to die. Poor waifu did not deserve this, and now I actually care about finding who this murderer is. Valerio and Benita are, of course, devastated as well. It's time to form an actual plan instead of just investigating shit. So we go back to Benita's office and we decide to lay a trap. We also learn a little bit more about Anna's backstory. She used to be with the musician as one of the dancers in his troupe, and she threw her whole entire body and soul into her dancing, But then she was converted to the Saradomin religion, and she completely threw her body and soul into that too. The connection between all of the murders thus far is that they were associated with Valero in some sort of way. The chef was his secret lover. Waifu was dancing with him at the moment that she was killed, and Anna used to be part of his troupe, so there's something fishy going on. The trap that we're going to lay will play off of this fact. They're going to announce that one of the other dancers in the musician's troupe is going to join the monastery. But instead of actually having her join, they're just going to dress a dummy up instead and try to lure the demon out with that. It took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to figure out how I actually have to make this dummy. You have to move the candlestick down in the basement. I just did not even see that as like a movable object. So it took me like a good 5-10 minutes to be able to figure out how to do this. You have to go pick a cabbage from the cabbage patch in the main part of the monastery and throw that on top of the candlestick, and then dress up the cabbage/candlestick in robes. Once you do that, if you examine the object that you create, its name is Sister Cabbage, which I really like that. That's my new favorite sister, I think. She's replaced Waifu. To catch the murderer, we have to step inside the wardrobe to be able to surprise it as it tries to kill Sister Cabbage. When we step inside, we're treated to a very nice cutscene. We get to hear a remix of the 2 different songs that have vocals that's been playing throughout the quest. And our murderer does end up showing up, and we get to see it try to take out Sister Cabbage, but little did he know that Sister Cabbage is actually invincible and cannot be destroyed in body or in spirit. We got to do a little chase sequence now, and the chase ends up finishing at the top of the clock tower where there's a giant bell, and lo and behold, the murderer the entire time was Sister Anna. She has gone crazy. She believes that she is the spirit of Saint Elspeth back to wreak havoc and justice upon all of the unworthy followers. You have a very dramatic final conversation here with her. You can ask her about a whole bunch of different stuff. But basically, she was just pissed off that Sister Benita was allowing too much flexibility in the rule, and she thought that they needed to be a little stricter. She faked her own death by killing the new applicant that disappeared. So when you search supposedly Anna's body down into the very beginning of the quest, that's actually the applicant's body that she hid underneath the bed. You can try to reason with her, but it just doesn't really end up working too well. What you end up having to do, and this took me a while to figure out too, is that you have to just kind of anticlimactically go back downstairs and switch the clock hands again to make the bell ring. And by having the bell ring, she loses her grip off of Sister Deborah, who she's been holding hostage. I really wish that she could have just fucking killed Deborah, though. If anyone deserved to die in this quest, it was her. Once you ring the bell, though, and Deborah's able to escape, Sister Anna has a moment of clarity, and she asks you to let her have a moment to pray to Saradomin for forgiveness. You can either tell her no and just push her off, basically, or you can let her have her moment and then she'll jump off. You then get teleported back to Benita's office, where you can either tell her that it was Sister Anna all along, or you can tell her that it was a demon instead. I chose to tell them that Sister Anna was the one who did it, just because they deserve to know the truth. And that's the end of the quest. You get some robes that allow you to recharge prayer points as you listen to musicians around the world, which is, I think, pretty unique. That's a decent reward. And then just a little bit of prayer XP. I loved this quest. It's definitely my favorite one that I've played in all of RuneScape so far. There's still a couple issues with it, just like the little things. A little bit of confusing areas. There's a few cutscene glitches where it just kind of lagged out and seemed a little funky wonky. But overall, it was great. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 with a badass seal of approval. If you haven't played this quest, I would definitely recommend doing it. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great music in it. They obviously poured their heart and soul into this quest, and I really hope that a lot of the newer RuneScape 3 quests are as high of quality as this one is, because this is one of the first new quests that I've played in RuneScape 3, so hopefully future quests maintain the same quality that this one does. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Have a great rest of your day.